Imagine a world where the sky was always on fire, and the ground beneath you could open up at any moment, spewing molten rock and ash. This is not a scene from a disaster movie. It's a metaphor for the God of the early books of the Bible. The God of Genesis and Exodus is a force of nature, a volcano contained in a tent, his presence both terrifying and awe-inspiring. But as we delve into the later books of the Pentateuch, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, we see a profound transformation. The volcano, once wild and unpredictable, is now domesticated, its power harnessed for the enforcement of law and the maintenance of order. This video explores this transformation, tracing the evolution of God from a fearsome, uncontrollable force to a more predictable and ritualized presence. The opening of the book of Exodus is a thunderous affair. God, through Moses, leads the Israelites out of Egypt with a display of divine power that leaves no room for doubt. The plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and the destruction of Pharaoh's army are all testament to a God who is not just powerful, but also deeply personal. He speaks to Moses face to face, and his presence is marked by a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. This God is a volcano, a force of nature that cannot be contained. His presence is so overwhelming that even Moses, his chosen leader, cannot enter the tent of meeting when the cloud of the Lord settles upon it. The Israelites, afraid of this divine presence, stand at a distance, awed and terrified. But as the Israelites journey through the wilderness, a shift occurs. The book of Exodus ends with the construction of the Tabernacle, a portable sanctuary where God can dwell among his people. This is a significant moment, as it marks the first time God has a permanent, albeit temporary, home among the Israelites. The cloud and the fire, symbols of his divine presence, now have a fixed location. The volcano, so to speak, has been brought into the tent. This is a domestication of sorts, but it is also a profound act of intimacy. God, who was once so otherworldly, is now living among his people, though still separated by a veil. The book of Leviticus, which follows Exodus, is a stark contrast to the dramatic and often frightening events of the Exodus. Leviticus is a book of laws, rituals, and regulations. It is here that we see God's transformation from a wild, unpredictable force to a more controlled and structured presence. The laws and rituals described in Leviticus are designed to maintain the purity and holiness of the Israelite community. The priests, who are responsible for these rituals, are tasked with ensuring that the people remain in right standing with God. This is a significant shift from the earlier books, where God's presence was more direct and personal. The book of Leviticus begins with a series of sacrifices, each with its own specific purpose and procedure. These sacrifices are a way for the people to approach God, to seek his favor, and to atone for their sins. The emphasis on ritual and ceremony suggests a God who is now more concerned with the proper observance of law than with the dramatic displays of power seen in Exodus. The God of Leviticus is a God of order, a God who requires precise adherence to his commands. This transformation is not just a change in God's character, but also a reflection of the changing needs of the Israelite community. As they prepare to enter the Promised Land, a more structured and ritualized approach to worship is necessary to maintain their identity and cohesion. The shift from the wild, unpredictable God of Exodus to the more controlled and ritualized God of Leviticus is also reflected in the language used to describe him. In Exodus, God is often described in terms of his power and majesty. He is a consuming fire, a cloud that leads and protects, and a voice that thunders from the mountain. In Leviticus, the language is more subdued. God is still powerful, but his power is now channeled through the rituals and laws he has given to the people. The emphasis is on obedience and faithfulness, rather than on the raw, unbridled power of God. This transformation is not without its challenges. The rituals and laws described in Leviticus can seem tedious and repetitive to a modern reader, but they serve a crucial purpose. They create a sense of order and stability in a community that has just been freed from slavery and is about to enter a new and unknown land. The rituals are a way for the people to maintain their connection to God and to each other. They provide a framework for living a holy and righteous life, and they serve as a reminder of the covenant between God and his people. The book of Numbers, which follows Leviticus, continues this theme of order and structure. It begins with a census of the Israelites, a practical step that helps to organize the community and prepare them for their journey. The book then recounts the Israelites' wanderings in the wilderness, their encounters with other nations, and their preparations for entering the Promised Land. Throughout this journey, the rituals and laws described in Leviticus continue to play a central role. The cloud and the fire, symbols of God's presence, guide the Israelites as they travel, and the priests ensure that the rituals are observed. The book of Deuteronomy, the final book of the Pentateuch, is a farewell address from Moses to the Israelites. It is a recapitulation of the laws and events of the previous books, a final exhortation to the people to remain faithful to God. Moses, now an old man, looks back on the journey and looks forward to the future. He reminds the people of the covenant they have with God and the importance of following his laws. Deuteronomy is a book of transition, a bridge between the wilderness and the Promised Land. It is a call to the people to be strong and courageous, to trust in God, and to remember the lessons they have learned. The transformation of God from a wild, uncontrollable force to a more controlled and ritualized presence is a central theme in the Pentateuch. This transformation is not a loss of power or majesty, but a rechanneling of that power into a form that can sustain a community. The rituals and laws of Leviticus, the guidance of the cloud and the fire in Numbers, and the exhortations of Moses in Deuteronomy all serve to create a sense of order and stability. They help to maintain the identity of the Israelites as a people set apart by God, a people who are called to live holy and righteous lives. In the end, the volcano that once raged in the wilderness is now a source of light and guidance, a symbol of God's constant presence and care. The transformation of God is a reflection of the transformation of the Israelites, From a people who were once slaves to a people who are now free to live in the land God has promised them. The journey from Egypt to the Promised Land is a journey of faith, a journey that requires trust in a God who is both powerful and personal, both terrifying and loving. In conclusion, the transformation of God from a wild, unpredictable force to a more controlled and ritualized presence is a profound and necessary shift. It is a reflection of the changing needs of the Israelite community and a testament to the enduring nature of God's covenant with His people. The volcano has come to live in the tent, but it is no longer a threat. It is a symbol of God's presence, a source of guidance and comfort, and a reminder of the deep, personal relationship between God and His people.